Not only did I dismiss the principal, I also planned to steal his son's girlfriend and casually bag the title of school genius. Let's see who dares to call me a country bumpkin again. What's so wrong with being a kid from the countryside? In my senior year of high school, I transferred schools. On my first exam, I shockingly scored first place. The class was in an uproar. The first place turned out to be the transfer student. I thought it would have been Ma Zhu-ri. Could it have been cheating? Isn't Gu Wuyan from the countryside? Who would have thought their grades would be this good? Though I grew up in the countryside, I've always been hardworking and sincere, studying diligently. But since childhood, I've been frail and sickly. Despite seeking countless renowned doctors, I saw no improvement. A fortune teller once said I was born with calamities in my fate. If I didn't want to die young, I had to stay far away from my parents and siblings and find a serene place surrounded by nature to rest and recover properly. He even handed over a jade pendant. He said that once the jade broke on its own without external force, it would mean my destined calamity had passed, and I could return to a normal life. My parents had no other choice. Treating a dead horse as if it were alive, they found a picturesque little town and built me a grand estate with a wave of their hand, so I could recuperate in peace. Unexpectedly, away from the hustle and bustle of the city, my health really began to improve. Just recently, the jade suddenly shattered on its own. Upon hearing the news, my parents rushed to bring me back home, and I transferred from a rural high school to a prestigious private school. My dad's intention was clear. My aunt is on the school board. He placed me here so my aunt could look after me and have peace of mind herself. My dad is quite the eccentric. Since childhood, his intelligence has outclassed his peers. He skipped grades all the way to elite universities, becoming the youngest postdoctoral scholar in the country. Now, he's a top-tier professor at a prestigious university, an academic with credentials on par with an academician. I was lucky to inherit his brilliant mind, though I'm not nearly as extraordinary as he is. At least I don't embarrass him. I pick up new things ridiculously fast. So even with the limited resources of a rural school, I consistently top the rankings by a landslide. Even after transferring to this elite private school, where the monthly exams are at Olympiad level, I handle them effortlessly. However, it's obvious, Ma Zhu-ri doesn't believe in my results. He came straight up to me and demanded, "Gu Wuyan, cheating on such a tough exam, don't you feel ashamed?" His tone was so sure of himself. I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. When I first arrived at the school, my deskmate warned me about Ma Zhu-ri. He's the principal's son, comes from a privileged family, outstanding grades. He's been firmly holding the title of top student for years, always looking down on everyone, arrogant by nature, and I was advised to be careful, not to provoke him. At the time, I thought I'm so laid back, not the type to offend anyone. But being laid back doesn't mean I'm a pushover. When Ma Zhu-ri is practically in my face, ignoring him any further would just be rude. I chuckled, "Oh, so you admit the exam was really tough?" I was the only one in the entire grade to score over 600 points, and I beat you, the second place student, by over 50 points. You say I cheated? Then tell me, who did I copy from? Ma Zhu-ri was momentarily speechless, but quickly retorted, "Who doesn't know? The invigilation was lax during the last exam. You must have used your phone to look up the answers. The school's exam seat numbers are assigned based on the previous rankings. As a transfer student, I didn't have any rankings from the previous year, so my seat number was at the very end." I crossed my arms, meeting his gaze with a calm demeanor. "So you're saying you saw it with your own eyes? You were sitting right next to me?" Ma Zhu-ri snorted coldly. "No matter how you tried to argue, you definitely cheated. Otherwise, how could a country bumpkin like you possibly score higher than me?" Suddenly, it all clicked for me. So losing his long-standing title as top student had left him furious and humiliated. Yawning lazily, I arched a brow and said, with so much evidence, even in a minimally supervised exam, there's still a proctor present. Sure, the invigilation was relaxed, but it wasn't relaxed enough for students to openly use their phones to cheat. Plus, there were dozens of eyes in the room. I have plenty of witnesses to vouch for me. What about you? Of course, Mazuri couldn't produce any evidence, but he'd already thrown out his accusations. And now, all the classmates watching were staring at him expectantly. If he just dropped it now, he'd lose face entirely. Wouldn't that be utterly humiliating? Left with no choice, he stubbornly raised his chin and said, "If you insist you didn't cheat, do you dare to go to the teacher with me? Let the teacher come up with a new question, and you'll solve it in front of everyone." Perfectly suits me. I nodded without hesitation and agreed. But I have a condition. If I solve the question, you'll have to apologize to me in front of the entire class. Seeing my straightforward response, Mazuri suddenly felt less confident. His expression wavered. I glanced at him and sneered, "What's wrong? Are you scared?" "Who's afraid of what now?" he snapped, clearly flustered. His face turned red with anger as he gritted his teeth and said, "Fine, I'll agree to your condition." Being the principal's son, the teachers at school always gave him some leeway. So the teacher didn't ask many questions and quickly prepared a set of problems. Every single one was a top-tier Olympiad question. During the big break, Mazuri brought out the exam papers. He rearranged the seating and surrounded me with 8 people, encircling me completely, watching my every move, ensuring there was no chance I could cheat. Once everything was ready, he slammed the paper onto my desk, his expression full of arrogance. "Let's see if you have the skills to solve these problems." I yawned, too lazy to argue with him. I picked up the pen and began working. When I solved the first problem, Mazuri's face fell. When I solved the second problem, his lips tightened into a thin line. When I solved the third problem, a bead of cold sweat rolled down Mazuri's forehead. When I finished the final problem, he nearly lost his balance. His eyes widened in disbelief, staring at me intently, as if he were looking at some kind of monster. The classmates watching began giving me thumbs up, praising me enthusiastically. "Gu Wuyan, these problems were so tough, and you actually solved all of them correctly. So this is what they mean by someone solving problems as easily as drinking water. We're fully convinced now. Gu Wuyan truly deserves the title of number 1. Those who had doubted my scores because of Mazuri's accusations all let go of their suspicions. I put down the paper and looked over at Mazuri. "I've solved all the problems as agreed. Now it's your turn to fulfill the promise." Mazuri glared at me fiercely. He didn't speak for a long time, until the surrounding classmates began whispering. Why isn't Mazuri saying anything? Gu Wuyan already solved all the problems. Could he be trying to back out of the bet? Exactly, a real man owns up to his losses. Just because he's the principal's son doesn't mean he can break his word. Mazuri's face turned a deep red, almost like pig liver. He held it in for a while, before finally forcing out the words through clenched teeth. "I lost. I apologize to you." I responded with a faint as if acknowledging it, but nothing more. This only made Mazuri angrier. "Gu Wuyan, don't get too full of yourself. What's the big deal about solving problems? You're just a small-town problem solver. Nothing worth bragging about." "Yes, I'm a small-town problem solver. But you've been living in the big city all your life, enjoying the best educational resources. Yet you can't even beat me, a so-called small-town problem solver. Don't you think that's even more embarrassing?" Mazuri's face turned a mix of green and purple. My retort left him speechless. He slammed the desk angrily and stormed out of the room. I couldn't be bothered to deal with him, so I went back to working on my problems. After the cheating incident, Mazuri and I officially became rivals. Someone started spreading the word about my genius reputation. and it quickly gained traction. Even students from the first and second years heard about it. They often formed groups during breaks to come and worship me. Even the teachers couldn't stop praising me. Every conversation started and ended with Gu Wuyan. Gu Wuyan scored full marks on today's test again. Gu Wuyan solved the last problem using 3 different methods. Everyone should learn from Gu Wuyan. Some even joked that I could get into Qinghai University with my eyes closed. To be honest, it was a bit over the top. But it did a great job of stealing Ma Zuri's spotlight. Seeing him annoyed brought me a sense of satisfaction. Whenever he got the chance, Ma Zuri would throw some snide, sarcastic remark at me. He'd call me uncultured. Or say I was poor. I didn't take it to heart. Arguing with an idiot is a waste of time. After all, I also didn't feel the need to tell him that my surname, Gu, is the same Gu as in Shenqing, the richest person in the country. 2 weeks passed in the blink of an eye. After lunch, I returned to the classroom and overheard a group of boys gossiping. Hey, did you guys hear? Liu Ruyan is coming back. Oh no, looks like the peaceful days at our school are about to end. Hearing the familiar name, I perked up and listened closely. Liu Ruyan and I are the same age. She could barely count as my childhood friend. Her family and mine both live in the outskirts of the city. Even before we were born, our families had arranged a marriage for us. Every holiday, she'd come to my family's estate in the countryside to play. This young lady was spoiled and pampered by her family. She's been bratty since she was a kid, never listened to anyone. Except me, I'm the only one who could keep her in check. She secretly pursued a career in sports behind her parents' backs, and somehow, she actually made a name for herself. Last year, her team won their 3rd consecutive championship. She even earned the title of season MVP and became the most popular player of the year. At the start of this semester, she was missing classes because she went to Europe for a tournament. The last time I asked her about it, she said she might only return after the midterm exams. Who would have thought she'd be back so soon? Look over there. Now that Liu Ruyan's coming back. Have you seen how excited Ma Zuri is? The goddess he's been dreaming about is finally returning. Of course he's thrilled. I looked up and saw Ma Zuri holding a small mirror, fixing his bangs. His face was practically glowing with joy. It was a stark contrast to the usual arrogant, overbearing Ma Zuri. I couldn't help but shiver. A chill ran down my spine. No way Liu Ruyan is Ma Zuri's goddess? Now this is getting interesting. Ma Zuri already can't stand me. If he finds out that Liu Ruyan is my childhood friend asterisk and asterisk my fiancé, he might just eat me alive. The image is too wild. I dare not even imagine it. The day Liu Ruyan returned to school, her team's championship win was trending at the top of social media. Nearly every student on campus was swept up in excitement. A huge crowd gathered at the school gate to welcome her. Those on higher floors, too slow to get downstairs, crammed into the corridors instead, peering eagerly out toward the entrance. Even the teachers yelling at the top of their lungs couldn't stop them. Eventually, they just gave up and let it be. The boys were screaming Liu Ruyan's name at the top of their lungs. I passed by after using the restroom. My expression was calm as ever, but the fan standing next to me suddenly screamed, scaring me half to death. Liu Ruyan, I'm your wife. Now, that left me genuinely stunned. If sports fans really know how to play. My desk mate spotted me and pulled me over, excitedly saying, Wuyan, come over here. I saved you a great spot. Next to us, Ma Zuri sneered sarcastically. Don't you always act all aloof, pretending not to care about these things? But now you're shamelessly pushing your way over to see my asterisk Liu Ruyan. I glanced at him indifferently. You're Liu Ruyan? Ma Zuri puffed up his chest confidently. Of course, I'm telling you. Liu Ruyan and I are bound to be together sooner or later. A bumpkin like you better not get any funny ideas. He paused, then laughed mockingly. Not that it matters if you do. Liu Liuruyan wouldn't even glance at someone like you. I shrug and spread my hands. Say whatever you want. Asterisk, I'd like to see whether Liu Liuruyan ignores me or ignores him when the time comes. Asterisk. There's no point arguing with someone whose brain is as straightforward as a single track pipe. Nothing to compete for. She's getting out of the car. Someone shouted. I turned to look. Liu Liuruyan stepped out of a sleek black van, still wearing her blue and white team uniform. Every movement carried an effortless grace. Her clear eyes, her long, flowing black hair, everything about her radiated an enchanting sense of youth. My assessment, she's even more stunning than the last time I saw her. Standing in front of the car, Liu Liuruyan scanned the crowd. The moment her gaze landed on me, she broke into a brilliant smile, waving cheerfully. I smiled back in acknowledgement. But then I heard the boys nearby start whispering. Did Liu Liuruyan just wave at Mazuri and smile at him? Could it be that they're already together? No way! Didn't she reject Mazuri multiple times? Mazuri's been chasing her since the first year of high school. Even if she's as hard as stone, she'd soften by now, right? I glanced thoughtfully at Mazuri, sizing him up. His cheeks were flushed red, and he was fidgeting in a bashful, over-the-top manner. His voice turned into an awkward, squeaky tone as he muttered, Liu Liuruyan, she's so over the top. I really didn't want this much attention. I was dumbfounded. Asterisk bro, you've got quite the talent for self-delusion. Asterisk. I hadn't pegged Mazuri as such a hopeless romantic. The class bell rang. The crowd scattered like startled birds. Everyone returned to their respective classes. Liu Liuruyan's class was next door. On her way back, she'd passed by our classroom. Many students craned their necks, staring expectantly at the windows, hoping to catch a glimpse of her. Their hearts seemed ready to leap out of their chests. I stayed focused on taking notes, thinking to myself, you guys go ahead and keep watching. I'll quietly study and crush you all with my grades. Suddenly, a noise came from outside the window. I instinctively turned toward the sound. There she was, Liu Liuruyan, grinning wide with her pearly whites showing. She beamed at me with a cheeky smile, but then her eyes met the stern gaze of the teacher on the podium. Her shoulders shrank, and she darted off like a startled rabbit. The class started murmuring and teasing quietly, but their eyes weren't on me. They were looking behind me, at Mazuri. His face was flushed bright red. He buried his head on his desk, grinning so wide it looked like his smile might split his face. Could they think Liu Liuruyan was interacting with Mazuri? And worse, Mazuri himself seemed to believe it wholeheartedly. This misunderstanding has gone way too far. Just then, Mr. Zhang, the grade-level director, entered the room. He adjusted his thick glasses and cast a stern gaze over the entire class. With a serious expression, he said, "You're all students. As students, your focus should be on studying. If I find out any of you are engaging in early relationships, I don't care what background or status you have. I'll treat everyone equally, and you'll be severely punished." I nodded in agreement. After all, there's no way Liu Liuruyan and I are in an early relationship, though we were betrothed to each other from a young age. But both families had reached a consensus. As students, we should focus on studying. The marriage arrangement could wait until we were adults. So the only agreement reached was Mazuri being heartbroken. He pouted miserably. His eyes were on the verge of turning red. As the teacher dragged on the lesson for 5 more minutes after the bell, Liu Liuruyan appeared at the classroom door. Before I had a chance to react, Mazuri sprang up like a spring-loaded toy and dashed out. Not just me, even Liu Liuruyan was stunned. Mazuri even tried to grab her hand, but she recoiled in shock, stepping back hurriedly. Her gaze turned confused and bewildered. "Excuse me, do I even know you?" Liu Liuruyan's voice wasn't too loud or too soft, just enough for the gossip-hungry students in the front row to hear. Everyone was stunned. What was going on? Wasn't Liu Liuruyan here to see Mazuri? We all thought they were dating. Then what on earth is Mazuri doing? This is so embarrassing. Mazuri was utterly mortified. His expression looked like he had just swallowed a fly. Gritting his teeth, he asked resentfully, "Didn't you just wave at me and smile at me?" Liu Ruyan frowned. "I was saying hi to Gu Wuyan. When did I ever smile at you?" Hearing this, the spectators were even more shocked. What did I miss? When did Liu Ruyan and Gu Wuyan even meet? She just got back to school, and Gu Wuyan only just transferred here. These two haven't even met before. Maybe they knew each other from before? But wait, isn't Gu Wuyan from the countryside? Mazuri turned his head, glaring at me with disbelief and anger. I kept a calm expression, looking completely innocent. Liu Ruyan still seemed confused. She was utterly baffled by the situation. Quickly, she waved at me for help. With a resigned sigh, I walked out under Mazuri's dagger-like glare. If looks could kill, I would have reincarnated 88 times by now. Liu Ruyan pulled me to the side and whispered, "Is that classmate of yours okay? Does he have some kind of mental health issue?" I paused for a moment. Then, with a half smile, I said, "I heard he's been pursuing you for ages. And you don't care at all?" Liu Ruyan looked a little puzzled. "There are plenty of boys chasing me. If I cared about every one of them, my heart would be exhausted." I couldn't hold back my laughter. "Fair enough, I'll give you that." Then, as if performing a magic trick, Liu Ruyan suddenly pulled out a delicate little box from behind her back. She held it out with both hands and offered it to me. "This is for you, guess what it is?" I took the box and opened it. Inside was the gold medal from her recent world championship. I looked down, stunned. Liu Ruyan smiled brightly. "Victory's joy should be shared with the people closest to you." I stood there, dumbfounded. "But you won the championship. I didn't even get you a gift." She lightly punched my chest. "Seeing you first thing after coming back is gift enough. And that already makes me really happy." Only then did I realize. No wonder Liu Ruyan came back from Europe so quickly. She must have rushed back just to share her joy with me. The class bell rang. Liu Ruyan walked me back to the classroom. Suddenly, her teasing voice came from behind. "You've gotten even more handsome." I turned around. She was leaning against the wall, winking at me with a playful smile. The sunlight fell softly on her face, making her look even gentler. After class, a bunch of people came to ask me about my relationship with Liu Ruyan. Even my deskmate asked repeatedly, "Hey, Wuyan, are you and Liu Ruyan really not dating?" Each time, I would look at him sincerely and assure him that I absolutely wasn't in an early relationship, whether he believed me or not. I couldn't tell. The rumors about Mazuri and Liu Ruyan didn't cause much of a stir. Some of the boys didn't dare say a word about it. But when it came to me, the small-town bumpkin, their jealousy poured out. Their sour remarks started flying. "Why are you even asking? Of course Gu Wuyan and Liu Ruyan aren't dating. He doesn't deserve her. So what if he's good at studying? He's just a bookworm who only knows how to hit the books." Coming from a poor family like his, even a lifetime of effort wouldn't be enough to match someone like Liu Ruyan. Besides, he doesn't even look that good, not exactly some earth-shatteringly handsome guy. The jealousy was palpable. Most people had been bystanders in my feud with Mazuri, watching from the sidelines with no intention of intervening, seeing how close Liu Ruyan and I were. Quite a few people joined Mazuri's camp and started mocking me along with him. Mazuri even declared publicly, "Gu Wuyan, don't think that clinging to Liu Ruyan's coattails will make your days at school any easier. Just wait and see. I'll show you. Bumpkins like you from the countryside don't even deserve to be in the same school as us." I couldn't be bothered to respond. I focused on my studies in peace. But some people wouldn't stop just because I ignored them. As the school anniversary approached, the school decided to hold a celebratory evening gala. Normally, seniors like us wouldn't participate in such entertainment activities. But because we achieved unprecedented results in the last joint exam, the school made an exception, allowing us to relax and join in. They even reserved a few inspirational speech and performance slots for seniors. And without my knowledge at all, I was signed up for a solo singing performance of Light and Shadow. If the homeroom teacher hadn't brought it up during a class meeting, I wouldn't have even known about it. Didn't take much thought to figure out. This had to be Mazuri's doing. He and the class monitor were close friends, and the program submissions were being handled by the class monitor. Clearly, they had set me up. Most of the clueless classmates thought I volunteered for it and started giving me strange looks. Isn't Light and Shadow the title track of Guru Waxi's new album? This song has so many devilish runs and high notes. It's Guru Waxi's showcase piece. No one has dared to cover it yet. For a song like this, a cover is just a disaster waiting to happen. Even the original singer might struggle to perform it live. And Gu Wuyan actually wants to sing this song. How does he even have the guts to try? Wait, didn't I hear that the school invited Guru Waxi to perform the finale for the celebration? If Guru Waxi sings Light and Shadow too, wouldn't that be an instant humiliation for Gu Wuyan? Really, I haven't seen her studio announce anything about her schedule. It's absolutely true. I have some connections. Apparently, she was invited back to her alma mater for the event. It's a private schedule, so it hasn't been made public. When the conversation shifted to the hugely popular celebrity Guru Waxi, everyone's focus turned from me to her. I caught the key point in their chatter. My sister is coming to the school? Why didn't she tell me? That's right, the superstar Guru Waxi they were all excited about is actually my biological sister. She debuted at the age of 20 after participating in a music program. With her sweet looks, pure voice, and impressive vocal skills, she won countless fans during the show's broadcast, becoming a sensation overnight. In just half a year, she shot to fame both domestically and internationally, elevating herself to the ranks of top-tier celebrities. But her personality is cold and reserved. She rarely appears on variety shows. She only occasionally attends major award ceremonies. She rarely makes public appearances. For such a superstar to willingly return to her alma mater for a small-scale performance like this, it's no wonder these boys are so thrilled. Taking advantage of their heated discussion about Guru Waxi, I stood up and approached the class monitor and Mazuri. Take my program off the list. I was concise, not wasting time with unnecessary words. The class monitor avoided my gaze nervously. The program has already been submitted to the homeroom teacher. If you want it cancelled, go tell them yourself. Though I had expected this, I still couldn't help but frown. You signed me up without asking. Now that I want to withdraw, you want me to handle it myself? Mazuri showed no guilt at all. Instead, he looked smug and self-assured. What's wrong? Don't you love being in the spotlight? Consider this your big chance to shine. You should be thanking us. With Mazuri backing him up, the class monitor suddenly grew bolder too. Exactly by extension. This counts as sharing a stage with Guru Waxi. Opportunities like this, other people would kill for them. You should be grateful. Don't act all ungrateful after getting such a lucky break. I laughed. Sharing a stage with Guru Waxi. So what? I've heard her sing while taking a bath. A private concert. Who else gets to see that? Not to mention, every time my sister writes a new song, I'm always the first person to hear it. I'm her eternal first listener. This so-called opportunity to share a stage, I couldn't care less. The song Light and Shadow was actually inspired by my sister. During the time she accompanied me at the mountain estate while I was recovering, she drew inspiration from the beauty of nature. Back then, she used to hum parts of it casually. I heard it so many times my ears nearly developed calluses. So it's not that I don't know how to sing it. I'm just not interested in performing it in front of so many people. I just want to focus on my studies. I don't want to waste my time on such utterly pointless activities. But since Mazuri and the class monitor were determined to play dumb and dodge responsibility, I had no choice but to speak to the homeroom teacher myself. The homeroom teacher, however, looked troubled. Your program has already been submitted. The program list is finalized. Changing it now would be inappropriate. Look, I know you're a diligent student, but a little balance between work and relaxation is good for you. Sometimes it's okay to have a little fun and unwind. I stared blankly at her. I don't feel entertained at all. Having someone like me, who is completely uninterested in social activities, perform on stage. Isn't it more about entertaining others than myself? Before I could argue further, the homeroom teacher patted my shoulder. I'm sure you'll do great. Good luck. Asterisk good luck. My foot asterisk. I was truly about to lose it. The homeroom teacher was adamant, determined to push me onto the stage no matter what. I returned to the classroom with a frosty expression. Mazuri, seeing my face, immediately guessed the outcome. His expression lit up with schadenfreude. Well, some people are just destined to embarrass themselves in front of the whole school. I stared at him for a long moment, then suddenly curved my lips into a smile. Is that so? Too bad you're going to be disappointed? Mazuri snorted disdainfully. Keep talking big. Even professional singers don't dare to cover light and shadow. I don't believe you can pull it off. I didn't want to waste time arguing with him. I waved him off impatiently. Move, good dogs don't block the way. Caught off guard by my shove, Mazuri almost tripped. He stumbled, barely keeping his balance. His face turned red with anger. He stormed back to his seat, then pulled out a stack of photos. Does anyone want an autographed photo of Guruoxy? In our class, if not everyone, at least 99% were fans of my sister. When they saw Mazuri holding so many signed photos, their eyes lit up immediately. Mazuri shot me a smug glance. As long as you all promise to never speak to Gu Wuyan again, I'll give you these autographed photos. As soon as he finished speaking, someone raised their hand. Me, I promise never to talk to Gu Wuyan again. No, I won't even look at him anymore. A crowd of people echoed enthusiastically. I couldn't help but marvel. The power of fandom really is something else. But wasn't this a bit too childish? I hadn't seen tactics like this since middle school. All I wanted was to study in peace. Whether people spoke to me or not didn't make much of a difference to me. However, those photos Mazuri was waving around, I narrowed my eyes slightly and took a closer look. Not only was the handwriting not my sister's, but judging by the glossy finish, they were clearly mass-printed. Along with the photos, these so-called autographed photos were nothing more than cheap fakes. Mazuri, the classic rich fool. My deskmate shifted uncomfortably in his seat, glancing at me, then at the photos. He hesitated for a long while before resolutely turning his head away. Forget it, it's just a photo. I don't even want it. I looked at him and chuckled softly. Let's be real here. Can you at least hide the longing in your eyes before you say that? I nudged his arm. Don't you really like Guruoxy? My deskmate squirmed for a moment. Blushing, he admitted, I do, but I'm not going to betray my friends for a signed photo. Besides, Guruoxy is coming to the school celebration. I'll still have a chance to get her real autograph then. I couldn't help laughing. Not bad, you've got loyalty. Alright, for that statement alone, forget just an autograph. I'll make sure you get a signed group photo too. It's all arranged. As for Mazuri, I'm just waiting to see him embarrass himself. That same evening, my sister ended up trending on social media. Hashtag Guruoxized in Dosbuff. Hashtag Guruoxyurgentaudlofrodapps. The hashtags exploded after she posted on Weibo. She wrote, recently, I've learned that many fake signed photos of me have been circulating and sold online. I want to remind everyone, any signed photos not obtained through official channels are fake. To all my fans, please don't spend high prices on these fake signed photos on e-commerce platforms. PS Online sold autographed photos. Most of them are fake. Remember to download anti-fraud apps. Don't fall for scams. She even attached screenshots of fake signed photos from various e-commerce and second-hand platforms. Upon closer inspection, the exact photos Mazuri was distributing were among them. The comments section was full of mixed reactions. I never buy autographed photos online. Attending offline events is much better. Those photos for tens of bucks are obviously fake. Buying them just for laughs is fine, but some go for hundreds per photo? Who's foolish enough to pay that? If I'm not mistaken, Mazuri must be one of those fools who paid hundreds for these. The next day, Mazuri called in sick and didn't come to class. My deskmate was laughing so hard he doubled over in his seat. Good thing I didn't take one yesterday. I'm so smart. This is killing me. Hey ha ha ha. Gu Wuyan, why aren't you laughing? Is your heart made of stone? Hey ha ha ha. He laughed so hard he had tears streaming down his face. I calmly took a sip of water. I have a high laughter threshold. Actually, the real reason was that I was the one who tipped my sister off about this in the first place. I had already laughed when it all went down. My deskmate patted his chest, saying, "Don't worry, I laughed for both of us." Just look at how smug Mazuri was yesterday, trying to rally the whole class to isolate you. And now he's been slapped in the face so hard, he doesn't even dare show up today. Serves him right. Many classmates turned against Mazuri. They started mocking and complaining about him. Since he didn't come to school today, his good buddy, the class monitor, had to bear all the whispers and stares. He was so embarrassed he couldn't lift his head. Some people cautiously tested the waters. Hey, genius. Yesterday, I got carried away. Can I still come to you with questions in the future? I wasn't the petty type to hold grudges. Of course. He was so thrilled he almost jumped out of his seat. I love you, genius. That's really not necessary, I replied dryly. After this incident, the class finally saw the huge gap between Mazuri and me. Their attitudes toward me became noticeably warmer. Some even came to comfort me. Don't listen to Mazuri's attempts to put you down. So what if you're from the countryside? Our school values grades and character, not family background. Anyone who works hard deserves respect. When you get into Tsinghua or Peking University, your future will be limitless. You'll leave him miles behind. That's right, you're amazing. Don't ever feel inferior. From now on, we're all on your side. I didn't even know how to explain it to them. I never felt inferior to begin with. It was several days before Mazuri came back to school. The way he looked at me was like I had killed his father. I didn't understand. He brought this entire situation upon himself. I didn't force his hand to buy fake autographed photos, nor did I make him rally the class to isolate me. So why was he acting like this was everyone else's fault, but he dumped all the blame for the incident on me? I thought to myself, Julia Ruyan was probably right. There might really be something mentally off about Mazuri. His thought process seemed far from normal. After the program was submitted, I didn't practice even once. Everyone more or less knew I was forced to participate, and were understanding of my lack of effort. Before the performance, my deskmate accompanied me to the backstage of the school auditorium to get styled. That's when we discovered my prepared costume had been shredded to pieces. My deskmate picked up the fragments of fabric from the floor, shaking with rage. Who did this? How could someone be so awful? Who else could it be? I tugged the corners of my mouth into a faint smile. Don't get so worked up. There's still time. Maybe we can fix this. However, the teacher in charge of the event informed us that there were no spare costumes. With only 2 hours left until the performance began, it was too late to rent another outfit. What do we do now? For this school anniversary, the school had even set up a live stream on major platforms. A mistake like this couldn't be allowed. The teacher was visibly stressed. I calmly said, "Leave the costume to me, but I'll need you to move my performance to the very last slot." The teacher's eyes widened. "You mean moving your performance to directly follow Guru Oxy's rendition of Light and Shadow?" Isn't it risky to put your cover right after the original singer? It's fine, trust me. The teacher hesitated for a long time before reluctantly agreeing. I grabbed my phone and headed outside. As I reached the door, I turned back and said, by the way, "Teacher, could you also check the props manager's security footage? This school anniversary event is a large-scale effort. All the students and staff have put in a lot of work. I'm sure I don't need to explain further. You'll want to investigate this thoroughly." I dialed a familiar number. "Are you on your way?" My sister's voice came through, light and teasing. "Just about to leave." "What's this, you heartless little rascal? Finally thinking about your big sister?" I cleared my throat. "I actually have something serious I need your help with." In just a few sentences, I explained everything that had been happening at school and the crisis with my performance outfit. There was a long silence on the other end. Even through the phone, I could picture the icy look on my sister's usually calm face. "Don't worry, I'll handle it." 2 hours later, the nation's beloved star, Guru Oxy, arrived at the school auditorium. The students on site went wild with excitement. The school had anticipated such a scene. They left only one entrance to the backstage area, guarded by security personnel. All logistics and performers had to show their passes to enter. The school also arranged a private dressing room for her. My sister's longtime security team recognized me, so I wasn't stopped when I went to find her. When I pushed open the door, there were no staff members around her. The moment she saw me, my sister immediately reached out and pinched my cheeks. She nodded in satisfaction. "Not bad. You haven't lost weight, so you've been taking care of yourself." I pouted. "You've smudged my foundation." She arched her eyebrows and playfully tapped my nose. "Come here and see the suit I picked for you. Isn't it dashing?" I couldn't help but smile. "No need to look. If you chose it, it's obviously the best." My sister has doted on me since I was little. Whenever she found something delicious or fun, she'd save it and bring it back to the countryside for me during holidays. If I ever asked for the stars or the moon, she'd figure out a way to get them for me. "That guy who keeps bothering you. Do you need me to step in and handle him?" When she brought up Mazuri, her beautiful face immediately clouded with coldness. "No need. I don't even take him seriously. If I cared about his little tricks, I would have reported him to Aunt long ago. This time, he's made a huge mess for himself. I won't have to do anything. The school will hold him accountable. And I wouldn't want someone like him dirtying your hands, which are meant for playing the piano." With only half an hour left before I was set to perform, I reluctantly said goodbye to my sister. As I made my way back to the shared dressing room, I thought I saw a suspicious figure lurking around the corner. I frowned slightly, but didn't think much of it. When my deskmate saw me return with the suit in hand, he finally let out a sigh of relief. He didn't ask where I had been. "Great, you're back. Just now, Mazuri was here spouting nonsense, saying you didn't have a costume, and were too scared of embarrassment, so you ran away. Luckily, you made it back in time." I paused slightly. "Mazuri was backstage?" My deskmate nodded. "He signed up to help as part of the logistics team. I saw him wandering around earlier, but I don't know where he went now." Seeing my furrowed brows, my deskmate quickly pulled me toward the dressing area. "Your costume issue is solved now. Don't worry about anything else. Hurry up and get ready. It's almost your turn." I could already faintly hear my sister's elegant piano playing, accompanied by her heavenly voice. There was no time to dwell on other concerns. I quickly changed into my outfit, then rushed backstage to wait for my turn. As the final note of her performance faded away, the host began announcing the next act. Taking a deep breath, I stepped onto the stage. The spotlight illuminated me from above. The entire audience collectively gasped. From the front rows, I could hear enthusiastic whispers. "Oh my God, so handsome!" I didn't know the class genius had this much presence. "Who started the rumor that he's some country bumpkin? Look at this natural charisma." That's not something you can fake. Some people even recognized my outfit. Wait a second, isn't that an Alice custom design? That's definitely not the one prepared by the school. The slow prelude of the music began to play. I raised the microphone to my lips. And just as I hit the cue to start singing, with a loud pop, the accompaniment abruptly stopped. I froze for a moment. The lyrics that were just on the tip of my tongue got stuck. The audience seemed puzzled, wondering why the accompaniment had stopped. A few older students scrambled toward the sound control room. But at that very moment, the sound of a piano suddenly filled the auditorium. Hearing the familiar melody, my heart steadied. I began to sing. Just like back in the mountain estate when my sister was writing this song. She would play the piano and I'd sing for her. When she sang, I'd provide the harmonies. When the song ended, the entire hall fell silent. Standing at the center of the stage, I bowed to the audience in gratitude. Suddenly, thunderous applause erupted from the crowd. Liu Liuyen's voice rang out from the audience, loud and clear. Gu Wuyan, debut now! The entire hall erupted, following his lead. Gu Wuyan debut across the sea of people. Liu Liuyen smiled and winked at me. The performance concluded perfectly. As I stepped off the stage, my sister ruffled my hair. She leaned in and whispered, "Get changed later, I'll take you out for crawfish." I nodded eagerly. But just as I finished changing, a group of aggressive boys cornered me in the dressing room. "Who's Gu Wuyan? Get out here." I was dumbfounded. Who did I offend this time? My deskmate, pale as a sheet, held up his phone and stammered, "Wuyan, look! You're trending!" I leaned over to see what he was talking about. To be precise, both my sister and I were trending together. And not just trending, it was negative publicity. Hashtag shocking. Guru Oxy is dating a male high school student. The two were seen acting intimately. Hashtag breaking. Popular idol Guru Oxy's private schedule exposed. Secretly meeting a male high school student. These headlines were wild. Written impressively well. Next time, maybe don't write them at all. I clicked on the tags. Hundreds of marketing accounts were spreading it like wildfire. As for the content, it all started with a few pictures, and the rest was pure speculation. The entire discussion revolved around a handful of photos. One was of me in my sister's dressing room, her pinching my cheek, clearly a candid shot. Another was of me singing in my tailored suit on stage, with my sister accompanying me on the piano. The comments section was an absolute battlefield. "I'm so disappointed in Guru Oxy. It's not like we don't want her to date. But dating a minor, that's crossing the line. Immoral and scandalous. What a disgrace to the industry. How do we know it wasn't the boy seducing her? Ha, I heard he's from the countryside." If it weren't for Guru Oxy, how could he have gotten into a private elite school? Or afford an Alice custom suit? How much in love must she be to play piano accompaniment for a nobody? Fans, please stop with the fantasy. This is too much. Imagine being 17 and already dating a top-tier celebrity. My 17-year-old self is crying right now. The rumors grew more and more absurd, to the point of accusing my sister of moral corruption. No wonder the group blocking the door were my sister's young fans, here to demand an explanation from me. "Gu Wuyan, you always act so aloof, but turns out you're just a hypocrite playing innocent." Disgusting, the insults flew like arrows outside. The door to the dressing room rattled violently as they pounded on it. It seemed like they were about to barge in. "Everyone shut up. Who dares say another word?" A sharp voice cut through the noise. Liu Liuyen. Liu Liuyen was infamous for his fiery temper. No one dared provoke him. Even so, Ma Zuri, emboldened, spoke up. "You're not seriously defending someone like Gu Wuyan, are you? Only 17 and already playing these games? You're walking around with a field of grass on your head and still backing him up. Pathetic." I heard Liu Liuyen mutter a curse under his breath, followed by Ma Zuri letting out a loud yelp. Startled, I wondered if Liu Liuyen had really hit him. I quickly opened the door. Liu Ruyan, calm down. His raised hand froze midair. He scoffed coldly, but he let go of Ma Zuri. Ma Zuri slumped to the ground, glaring at me with fury. It wasn't even me who almost hit him, it was Liu Ruyan. Why glare at me? Before I could figure it out, another boy stepped forward. Gu Wuyan, hiding behind a girl? Are you even a man? Come out and explain yourself? I turned to look at Liu Ruyan, standing next to me. Just as I was about to refute him, I heard my sister's cool and steady voice ring out from behind the crowd. Don't trouble my brother. If you have questions, direct them at me. Brother, asterisk, someone in the crowd caught the key word, but others scoffed skeptically. Brother, that's just another excuse. My sister strode forward gracefully, her long legs carrying her to my side. With Liu Ruyan flanking me on one side and my sister on the other, I was securely protected. Her sharp gaze darkened slightly, and her usually calm face showed a faint trace of anger. Don't worry, I'll give everyone an explanation. I've already contacted the legal team from my studio. My parents are also on their way here. When they arrive, it'll be clear that Gu Wuyan and I are biological siblings. Some people, with malicious intent, took candid photos and twisted them online, spreading rumors and defamation to damage my and my brother's reputations. I will pursue this to the end using every legal tool available. I couldn't help but secretly give my sister a thumbs up. She's been in the entertainment industry long enough to have perfected the art of public speaking. Half an hour later, our parents arrived at the school. The principal, looking visibly distressed, followed closely behind my aunt to the backstage area. My mom, a familiar face on the cover of financial magazines, was immediately recognized by some onlookers. Wait a second, isn't that Chen Qing, the nation's richest person? My mom ignored the murmurs around her, heading straight for me. She wrapped me in a firm embrace. Son, I'm sorry we're late. The crowd of students and teachers wore expressions of utter shock. Wait, Gu Wuyan is Shen Qing's son? Which means Gu Ruoxi is Shen Qing's daughter? Damn, they're way too low-key. They've never mentioned it before. My dad, though a modest, understated intellectual, had an aura of elegance and wisdom that spoke of his extraordinary nature, especially with his keen, intelligent eyes. A curious classmate did a quick search, and their jaw practically hit the floor. Wait, he's asterisk Gu Jojo asterisk? Isn't that the academician who was recently honored by the National Academy of Sciences? I remembered that trending topic too. Even then, I thought he was incredible. No wonder Gu Wuyan is so smart. Turns out it's hereditary. If I can't be a class genius, it's because I don't have a genius for a parent. To be fair, even Ma Zuri's dad was once my dad's student. He has to be respectful when he sees my dad. The principal sighed heavily. I never expected something this terrible to happen at our school. Mr. Gu, Ms. Shen, what do you think should be done about this? My mom, still visibly angry, held me tightly, huffing indignantly without answering. She's famously a fierce protector of her children. The mountain estate she built for me, with its year-round comfort, intricate pavilions, and elegant architecture, reportedly cost over $100 million. Even though I grew up in the countryside, whenever a luxury brand released a new collection, my mom made sure it was delivered to me. Though I never quite understood why I needed such extravagance while living in a small town. I'm just focused on studying. I don't even need all that stuff. But my dad always said, I don't care. If others have it, my precious daughter deserves it too. My dad was always patient, telling me stories, helping me with problems, and guiding me through experiments hand in hand. He never once raised his voice at me. But whenever I was wronged, he would get as serious as he was now, looking every bit like a strict dean. His sharp gaze pinned the principal, Ma Zuri's father, taking candid photos, spreading rumors, slandering classmates. Such a student is the true definition of moral corruption. Expulsion is the only appropriate consequence. The principal nodded quickly. Yes, Mr. Gu, you're absolutely right. My dad turned to my sister. Did you find out who did it? My sister nodded, pulling out her evidence. I had my studio trace the IP addresses and the watermarks on the photos. It's confirmed that the person responsible for the candid photos, spreading the rumors and slander, is a student named Ma Zhu. The principal froze, utterly stunned. He clearly had no idea about his son's antics, and now the drama had landed squarely on his own plate. He stammered, could there be some misunderstanding? My dad's tone turned even sharper. What misunderstanding? The evidence is ironclad. Do you think I'd falsely accuse a child? At that moment, the teacher responsible for the event's costumes and props added fuel to the fire, playing a surveillance video. I reviewed the footage just now, and it shows who cut up Gu Wuyan's costume. Everyone's eyes turned to the screen. And in the sound control room, intentionally cutting off the musical accompaniment. It was all done by Ma Zhu. Liu Ruyan chimed in at just the right moment. Mr. Shen, Uncle Gu, I also heard that after the first monthly exam, when Wuyan was accused of cheating, that was also orchestrated by this same Ma Zhu. Over the past weeks, all the disgusting things Ma Zhu had done were gradually revealed. My aunt, furious beyond measure, glared at Principal Ma. So this is how you let your son wreak havoc at school? The principal looked utterly miserable. He really didn't know. He's spoiled at home, I admit, but he didn't mean any harm. My aunt snorted coldly. Didn't mean any harm. Spreading false accusations about classmates cheating? Making up lies about relationships? And you call that no bad intentions? Before this, what did you promise me? You said you'd handle school matters fairly and impartially, that you'd enforce the rules, and this is your idea of fairness? Principal Ma stammered, unable to defend himself. What do you think we should do? I'll listen to your decision. I stepped in. All right then. According to school regulations, I recommend expelling Ma Zhu. As for your own position, Principal Ma, you should face disciplinary review. Do you have any objections? How could Principal Ma dare object? He hung his head and didn't say a word. As for the troublemaker, Ma Zhu, the moment my sister stepped in, he realized he'd caused too much trouble and had already gone into hiding. If he found out about this decision, I could only imagine the spectacular expression on his face. My sister's PR team also acted swiftly and effectively. In less than 2 hours, the situation took a dramatic turn. Both my sisters and my negative trending tags were taken down, replaced by ones clarifying the truth. Hashtag #GuruWalkSikliernam. Hashtag TheboyInthekrinjafoshifa. Hashtag TruthRevealedFafinstier. Our family background could no longer stay hidden. Those who had been following the negative narrative and blindly criticizing us realized they had been manipulated. Furious, they turned their anger toward Ma Zhu. Some even went so far as to dig up his personal information. The fact that he spread rumors about my sister having an improper relationship with a minor was seen as a heinous act. As a result, my sister's studio began gathering evidence to file a lawsuit against him. So far, my sister's studio has never lost a defamation case. I wouldn't be surprised if, in the near future, we see photos of Ma Zhu crying, apologizing, and paying damages, circulating among my sister's fans. This was supposed to be the most critical year of high school. Yet, through his own actions, Ma Zhu completely destroyed his future. All I can say is, he had it coming. Meanwhile, the narrative about me and my sister took a complete 180. What started as an internet frenzy about a scandal between a big celebrity and a minor ended with netizens expressing sympathy for my sister and humorously lamenting her little brother isn't studying but is out there doing music, and then he's just going to go home and inherit billions. Meanwhile, my sister gained tens of thousands of new followers. As for me, since I'm obsessed with studying and don't use social media, I missed out on the chance to collect a wave of fans myself. The backstage area of the auditorium was left in chaos after the event. I stayed back to help the teachers and classmates tidy up, Only then did I head to the restaurant. I brought along my deskmate too. On the way, I asked him, "Why didn't you, as one of my sister's fans, lose your mind over that negative trending post and join the mob against me?" He replied, "Because I believe in you, of course. And I believe in Guru Oxy too. I'm a die-hard fan of your sister." Right then, I knew this deskmate was someone worth keeping around. He proved his loyalty and stuck by me. Forget about signed photos or group pictures, he earned way more. I brought him along to eat crawfish with me and my sister. Though in hindsight, that decision might have been a bit reckless. After all, my aunt, my parents, and even Ruyen decided to join us too. My deskmate spent the entire meal blushing red, matching the color of the crawfish. He barely even dared to eat anything. At one point, my aunt turned to me and asked, "Why didn't you tell me you were being bullied at school?" I was lazily munching on the shrimp Ruyen peeled for me, sipping the drink my sister poured for me. Completely carefree, I said, "Because nobody can mess with my study schedule." My parents exchanged amused glances and smiled. Raising their glasses, they said, "Then let's toast to our son acing his college entrance exams this year." I raised my glass of juice, clinked it lightly with theirs, cheers. This little drama and these minor setbacks? They're nothing. I have loyal friends, the best family anyone could ask for, and a future worth looking forward to.